Hello everyone, Burb here, and this is the Pace Chaser Guide for Scorpio. Just want to preface this and say, if I get anything wrong, please just let me know in the Discord and I'll do a correction. I'm not faultless. Most of the stuff I do is based on either the simulator, my own intuition, or occasionally a practice race or two for each of the styles in the actual game itself. So there are things that may slip by, but just please let me know. So our Pace Chaser is good. I think they're the strongest non-front roll. Reason being, because it's a corner ending, the end closers struggle quite a bit. The late surges are very gambly still until a couple more scenarios when they get a little bit more reliable. And Pace Chasers just are the most consistent of the three backline rolls. So they have access to a very strong acceleration and shooting for victory. That's Taiki ults, and almost all the acceleration skills that are good this CM are based on ults, which means you can get them from the parents. And those two things combined means that your runs are pretty easy. It's pretty easy to build Pace Chasers in general in the CM, and there's a lot of options for them. The only downside to Pace Chasers is they have the debuff, so they have a very high stamina requirement compared to some other skills. They are also vulnerable to Nice Nature because they are sitting right in front of the late surger position, so all the vision debuffs that Nice Nature has, they will also get hit by. So you have to take that into account. The only other thing, and it's kind of a minor one, is that there's no rule-specific acceleration skill. You could say shooting for victory is, but head-on is okay. I'll go through it. But the acceleration skills you want really are just alt-based, and honestly the late surgers can use them too, but the Pace Chasers have the advantage of being further forward in the pack, so they need less in order to get back into the front runner's position. So your win condition essentially is you're trying to surge past these front runners, specifically the one with angling and scheming. You can do that either by making a blocker by using a Suzuka Runaway, or running a front runner yourself and slingshotting your own Pace Chaser around them if they don't hit angling and scheming. So let's go and continue. Your pace inherits you want, as a reminder from the first video, is Taiki Shuttle is the only must build one. It just gives a guaranteed acceleration skill at the perfect timing. You can see it starts right on the spurt this time, always, every single time, as long as you hit the wit check. The other options you have, Meisho Dodo is the best gambling option in my opinion, or El Condor Pasta Fantasy is also a gambling option. If you want to kind of go 50-50, you can use my Auto Top Gun Flashy Landing because it is a speed skill and acceleration skill, so if it misses, you will still get some speed from it. And Measure McQueen is a guaranteed speed skill, so you will always get something from Measure McQueen, albeit not as much as a Meisho Doto ult. So the stats you need, because you are a Pace Chaser, you need a little bit higher stamina. I suggest going for 880 target stamina, 10% more than all the other rolls. But this is because if you look at this list here, you see 1 gold recovery. You have 612 normally for front runners and 698 or 700, I like to say, for the Pace Chasers versus 650-ish for the other two. And if you combine the fact we're on Rainy Soft and because you're getting some nice nature debuffs, I think 880 is a very doable target. Again, if you get more than this number here, 698, if you get more than 700, it is possible for you to win because you will have the possibility of spurting if you do not get any debuffs or you don't get rushed or anything, for example, that. So 880 target stamina, try to get 700 plus target power. Power is not necessarily as important for Pace Chasers as it is for late surgers, so you can go a little bit lower in power, and there's no 901 power requirement this time. So you have a lot of flexibility in your decks. Speaking of decks, you need to ask yourself the question, and this kind of goes for all styles, and I'm probably going to reiterate in this in the other videos, but you need 1200 speed and get your 880 stamina requirement. Your 700 power is good too, not necessarily 100% required. You can live with lower. So you need to ask yourself, what do I need to hit 1200 speed and 880 stamina? I gave some examples. If you're on a 20% speed and 10% power character, like let's say Oguri Cap is a good example for this, I find that you only need 2 good speed cards, like a Kittison Black and a Sweep Tosho is plenty, and you can run any power card from your deck. I enjoy El Condor Pasa if you have her. If you pulled on the Kittison banner, you probably have a few of those. If you have a high MLB of that, I would use that. Or Rice Shower if you need a little bit more stamina. That also supplies Swinging Maestro for the characters that don't have an innate recovery. And then also a Riko Kashimoto. And I think with these 4 cards with some stamina sparks, you should be able to hit the 880 stamina requirement pretty easily. And with the speed bonus, you should be able to hit the 1200 speed. So what this does is you have 2 slots left, so you want to run 2 wit cards for that. The 2 wit cards will also supplement your speed, but mostly as well, these wit cards give you bonus consistency because you have additional wit, and also it makes it so that you a lot of the wit cards have very good skills attached to them. For a character that doesn't have necessarily as good of innate bonuses, like for example, let's say Rudolph. Rudolph has actually 1 stamina and 2 guts, but it's the same thing with 2 stamina and 1 guts. You want to utilize what your Uma is good at for training, and in this case, if stamina guts, you want to be tapping the stamina button instead. So what you want to do is your speed will provide you some power, okay? And you need 3 speed cards because you have 0% stamina bonus, and you need a stamina card because you want to be tapping stamina for your stamina guts as well. Riko will cover the rest of the stamina, and then you want to load up on as many power sparks as well so that your power can get as high as possible. You will get probably about 500 to 600 just from your speed. You may not need 6, you may only need 4. Do some tests on your own. It just kind of depends how the run goes. You can run cards like King Halo in order to get some power bonus attached to your speed cards, but you're also sacrificing race bonus that you get from other cards like Shinko Windy. So it's just kind of what your deck has. In this example, you have 5 cards that are required in order to hit these stats. So what do you have? You have 1 slot open. Fill it with a wit card of your choice. Fine Motions is good. Agnes Tachyon is good. Agnes Tachyon has a surprising amount of wit bonus in terms of like wit output. She also has the medium skills, which are incredible. If all else fails and you just don't have anything, what I would run is a 0 wit card deck, and I know it's weird, but pretend it's just the long Libra CM a little bit, and just run 3 speed, 1 stamina, 1 power, and Riko. And you probably are going to be borrowing a Super Creek in this case because if you have absolutely nothing, that's probably the thing you need to hit 880 stamina. With this one, I would probably run either some wit sparks, or I would run, honestly, just run like mixed speed, stamina, power sparks, and just get to the stuff and have 400 wit and just call it a day. You won't be as consistent, but you will give yourself a chance. So this is a very easy CM to hit it. If all else fails, literally free to play options here, like 3 free to play options here. Any power card in your deck that's like MLB, if you can get one, and then borrow a Super Creek with Riko. You should be able to meet the stat requirements pretty easily. Okay, you're looking for, I mentioned this before, you're looking for medium S. I think it should be required in this one because there's really not that hard of stats to go for, so you'll be able to get them pretty easily. And also, the other thing is that the skills in the CM are kind of iffy. Like, it's not absolutely required, and you kind of just load up on a lot of them. So medium S goes very far because it's just straight speed. All right, so you want for your deck to run the strongest speed, stamina, power cards that you have, and then any extra spots you have. So let's say you have very good speed cards. You may only need 2 speed cards. That allows you to run an entirely new wit deck. That is more important than anything on this list. That being said, El Condorpas is insane in this one because just Killer Tunes Gold is a very good skill. And also you have all the medium and pace skills you want. So you have Pace Chaser straights and medium straights as well. And it's just it's a busted card. It's also the best power stat stick in the game. You can actually move your sparks away from power onto stamina. When you're running this thing in 3LB or 4LB, it gets a little iffy in 2LB because you don't get the training effectiveness. But other than that, just an incredible card on its own if you're lucky enough to get a couple during the Kittison Black Banner. Free-to-play option, Narita Bryan SSR has some medium skills attached to it. I would not lower your speed output for it, but it does have medium straights and medium corners. Notably, right-handed does not work because we are left-handed. Left-handed is on the Suzuka card, and it's on the Xenoroberoid speed. I think the ZRR speed may be a bait just because it has no special priority, and it really, honestly, it kills your speed output a little bit. So if you're kind of have 2 good speed cards, like let's say a Sweep Tosho and a Kittison already, you could run this as a 3rd speed card option if you think you have enough speed card, and it'll give you left-handed. And it's more of a late surger card because it's meant to give that innate recovery for late surgers. But without the special priority and the 10% effectiveness that it has on it, it kind of supplements as a pseudo power card / wit card. It kind of just boosts all the stats up and not just speed. The reason why you want to run the strongest one and have more wit cards is because the wit cards have the best skills attached to them this CM. Absolute most busted one is Fine Motion this time for Pace Chasers. Reason being, you have Outer Post Proficiency, best skill in the game, in my opinion. It's not, but whatever. It's good. And it also has Fall Runner, which is basically Outer Post Proficiency that's guaranteed. Much better. Nimble Navigator and Speed Star. We'll go over these skills later. These are both gambling acceleration skills. And the medium skills, from Agnes Tachyon would be my second option. So if you have these two cards, either through a borrow or through regular, you're chilling because you just run a 20% speed character. You put these two cards, you're getting a massive wit output. So you have 700, 800 wit by the end, and you have both medium skills and a bunch of stuff you can gamble, a bunch of greens. So that's what you need. Notably, one thing a lot of people are missing, Yukino Bijin is not bad at all this CM. Reason being, it's a card that at 0 LB actually is not much worse than a SR wit card. And it also has training effectiveness attached to it base. So, notably, if you look here, if you're sacrificing for, let's say, Mazura Arden, Yukino Bijin isn't much worse. Just even at 0 LB, you have maybe 1 LB copy. You're at like 570 on the tier list. It's obviously less than Agnes Tachyon. Agnes Tachyon is better, but it does give you No Stopping Me, Steadfast, Corner Acceleration, and Medium Straight. So 4 good skills, and it allows you to go for things that are maybe a little bit weird, like, you have 2 hints on No Stopping Me and you get a little bit more of a discount. It opens up the game. I would probably use these 2 before it, but if you don't have either of these 2, maybe you run a Yukino Bijin in this. Maybe you just, instead of running like a Daiwa Scarlet, it's just an option because you don't necessarily need that 700, 800 wit. It's fine to just have the 500, 600 and just go for it. We're not a front runner. We don't really need wit as much. Okay. Shooting for Victory. The reason why it's good, it has 1 activation time. It'll give you 2.5 lengths total. I am going to teach you how to read these graphs. This is the little side note that's good for everybody. So the bottom is frequency, and the top is the strength of it. So when you see 14% here, it means every single one of these little crenulations here, every single one of these slices is a 14% chance. So Shooting for Victory has 1 timing for 100% chance, and it always gives you 2.5 lengths. It's the best skill that is required on every single Pace Chaser, in my opinion, this CM. I Never Goof Up. So these are why I call them gambling. So I Never Goof Up. If you would add up 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, you have roughly a 75% chance, right, of getting between like 1.8 lengths to 1 length. So you'll always get something, and like a 15% chance to miss, but you still get like a half length. So you will always get something from I Never Goof Up, but it has a large variance. But about 70% of the time, because you can see most of the stuff is on this little corner here, most of the time it will give you a significant amount of speed or acceleration at the right time. Condor's Fury is kind of the same thing. It's about a 50-50. However, if you look, the highest bits are a little bit higher. So 3.1 lengths versus 1.8 lengths, about double the strength. But if you look, a lot of it is grouped around this first edge here, which is about 0.5 lengths to 1 length. So about 50% of the time, you're going to get about half a length. And the other 50% of the time, which is the central area, you're going to get between 1.5 to 3 lengths. So the break-even point, 1.8 lengths, you can kind of see is a little bit past the 50% mark. So it's all about the timing here. Miyano Top Guns, Flashy Landing, not as good of a skill in my opinion, but if you have a good parent, I would use her. And the reason being is that if you look here, it's 5% each, so it's very spread out. And a lot of times you're only getting like maybe 40%, 30 to 40% is truly like prime timing for the flashing landing. But if you see, there is this little 0.29, 0.3 lengths because of the speed it gives as well, that you're always getting a little bit of something. So even though it's an unreliable gambling acceleration skill, you still get something even if it misses, and that's why it's kind of decent. So I would highly suggest using your 2 parents as Shooting for Victory as one of them, and one of these 3 as the other one. There may be a couple other options, but I find these 3 are the most useful. The problem with Pace Chasers is that all their accelerations are absolute gambling. The biggest one and the easiest one is if you get Burning Spirit Power or Igniting Spirit Power. Most of the time, it'll give you about 50 to 60% of the time it's going to give you about 2 to 3 lengths, right? And then the other half of the time is going to give you nothing. So it's about a 50-50. Same with head-on. A lot of people are suggesting head-on. It is a good skill. It procs about 50% of the time. It is a gambling acceleration skill. So it's a 50-50 to give you a decent amount of lengths, essentially a decent amount of speed. We talked about Condor's Fury as from before. That's another gambling acceleration. Corner Connoisseur, the reason why I don't suggest it, if you look here, there's a lot of stuff that it does at the beginning where it won't give you that many lengths. It will pace break you, which is kind of modeled not really correctly. But besides that, you see this, there's like over 50%, almost 75% of the time, it'll give you almost nothing. And the rest of the time, I mean, the peak is 5.5 lengths. It's massive. But at 360 skill points, you're doing a 1 in 4 chance of giving you a decent amount of stuff and 75% chance of giving nothing. It is a luxury skill. It doesn't have enough going for it to warrant the 360 or slotting in like a gold ship stamina card. Like it's just kind of insane. Oguri Cap does get it for free. A lot of times you're just going to have better skills on her, unfortunately. No Stopping Me is the same way. It's about a 30% activation to give you a good freaking 5.4 lengths on maximum, but you can see that only happens 2.5% of the time. So we're talking like 30% chance of giving you something decent, and then the rest is under 1 length the whole time or almost nothing. So it's, again, a luxury skill. You may only want Nimble Navigator just to have it, just because it just gives you something more. It's really hard. It is only 240 base, so it may be better to grab it than Corner Connoisseur, but it's sort of a low percentage play. Unyielding is a little weird because when it works, it gives you something every time. You see, it's 1.0 lengths when it happens, no matter what, and it has a very, very, very high cap at 3.2 as well. Steadfast is half of that, giving it 1.6. So it's a good skill when it procs. The problem with it is it requires you to be passed. You can actually build around this by running a late surger or an end closer with a ton of mid-race speed skills, so that once the pace break finishes, the position keep finishes, you can be passed on that final corner. But usually if you're being passed by someone who's not your own Uma, you are losing. So this is kind of a way for them to keep up and possibly win, but 60% of the time works every time. So if you proc it right, it does work, but you usually are not in the best position when it's being proc. That's the only problem with this skill. But it's a decent gambling skill as well. I would probably pick some of the others first, but it is kind of a funny one, and certain characters have it innately, so I would grab it if it picks it up. Shrewd Step Technician, which is Teo's version. That's the gold version. It's a lot weird. This is the most gambling thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't even know if it's modeled correctly, but if you look, it can proc at any time. And there's a couple times it works, which is like 9% chance, and the rest doesn't. I would not grab this skill, but it's kind of funny for the memes because it does technically give like 3 to 4 lengths if it procs at the right time. It's just like a 10% chance it does. You want a mid-race speed skill? I think everyone's kind of figured out the meta at this point is that mid-race speed skills, they win the game. The two reliable ones, the only reliable one is Measure McQueen's Duty Dignity Calls, because that gives you about a length in the middle. And that's because the position keep at the start, the ending is a corner, which means that all corner skills have the chance of proccing during the acceleration phase. So if you look at these corner skills, right, they have a decent amount at the start. They're not as effective because you're in the position keep zone, so you have the chance of pacing back down if it unprocs wrong. And you have also the mid-race positioning skill where you get it good right here. And then you have the absolute best timing possible, which is right before the acceleration where you get some speed carryover. The legendary speed carryover. However, if it procs on the acceleration phase, it is too late and it doesn't give you anything because you're already trying to spurt. So it needs to proc, and it does proc about 80% of the time. So 1 out of every 5 times, your corner skills aren't going to work at all. Your straightaway skills, unfortunately, because the ending's on a straight, it means that you always have the option of them essentially bricking at the very end of the race, but it's kind of a ramped effect. So if it procs too early in the acceleration zone, you're not going to get anything. And if it procs too late on like the home stretch haste timing, essentially, it's also not going to do anything. But they are all pretty consistent. Like 100% of the times you're getting something, 90% of the time you're getting something. But if you look, a lot of the actual effectiveness of it is much lower than the gambling of the corners. So I would personally do corners over straights because you have higher upside. And like 80% of the time it works, but they are technically gambling speed skills, unlike most other races where the professor of curvature is just what you buy because it works. Like every time. It's going to fail every once in a while. Speed Star, which is the fine motion skill. It is a gambling speed skill, which is kind of weird because the only time it procs is on this final corner. If it procs early, you get the legendary speed carryover, which is broken, and it will win you the game pretty much if it procs then, because that's a massive speed carryover into acceleration skill is how you win the game. If you don't proc and it procs even slightly late, you get absolutely nothing. So this is pretty much a near 50-50. It's closer to 40%. Just 40%, give yourself a ridiculous chance to win the game, and a 60% chance of don't. I would pick it up because its upside is so high for what it does. Maybe not all gold. It is only 2.1 lengths for what I believe is 240, but most people are running fine motion, and a lot of times it doesn't even give you the gold one, but the whales will have Speed Star as an additional gambling speed skill. I'm going to go into the actual characters that are playable this one, but the disclaimer really is that all of the Umas in this game work for Pace Chaser if you're able to get it to Pace Chaser A+, essentially A or more. Seriously, like this is the Oshi Uma Cup. Like run your favorite characters. Like it will work. You'll at least give yourself a chance. Now, there's a couple that have unique advantages. Namely, Taiki Shuttle will probably be the meta, quote unquote. The verdict is technically out, but I have found, and I don't know why people are saying this character, people meaning content creators are saying this character is hard to build. It is truly almost brain dead. Reason being is the career pretty much plays itself. If you remember back in the day, this was one of the original Bakashin career characters because her career was so easy you could just literally train speed the whole time. You train speed and you train wit the whole time, and you just go and you run races when either of those are bad. That used to be the old Bakashin strat, and Taiki Shuttle was one of the three main characters you could use to run that because her career was just stupidly easy. She also comes with shooting for victory innately, which when you have a skill innately, it is stronger than all the other versions because it is double the strength. So just having shooting for victory means you have essentially two shooting for victories that proc every time. It is insane. Speed Wit is honestly the best like 2-stat combo you can have in the CM because you're running a lot of Wit cards. You will want to run a double Wit setup on her because of this, because the Wit training is just stupidly strong because you're getting so much speed from your Wit cards themselves, and you can go and drop down to 2 speed cards. And she does get head on, and some content creator says this secret event is very difficult. It is honestly one of the easiest secret events after playing her. I thought it was very difficult, but in the medium ones, when you get her to medium A, I have not lost a single race from it actually playing this character right. You just have to focus your speed on early and make sure you have good 600 to 700 speed by the time you hit the mile CH. The 5 goals you need to hit is the only one is a mile CH goal. The rest of them you have to schedule yourself, but I would 100% do them because of this stuff here. But the Kinko Show in spring, the Tazaraka Keenan just before summer, the Mainichi Okan coming out of summer, and the Tenno Show autumn. I believe the game is programmed to not give you the mood down for running the sprinter stake in these two, one after the other, because I haven't gotten it in like 15 runs ever. So I think it's programmed to do so, to not penalize you for the 3 races. But if you do all these 3 things, you get 2 hints for head-on, which means that it's honestly pretty cheap because it's already a cheap skill. And then you also get, I believe, it says 25, 25, 25 on the game tour, but I actually believe it's 35 speed, 35 stamina, and 37 skill points, which is ridiculous. That's almost 2, if not 3 base trainings, which more than makes up for the 5 races you're doing, because each of these will give you pretty much half a training each. So you're spending 5 turns for 4.5 trainings and head on. Like that's a no-brainer. You just do this. Like this character is the strongest. She's a little bit difficult just because you got to think. a little bit, but other than that, she is easy. She is nice and comfortable to run. Just have to hit the stamina goal. Easiest character, Oguri Cap regular. Oguri Cap Christmas is going to be a little bit more difficult because you got to get the recovery skills, but Oguri Cap regular, 20 speed, 10 power. You could do a 2-speed deck. You may not even need a power card. She has a Gourmand and an 8 gold recovery. She comes with Corner Connoisseur. Like I said, you usually have other stuff that's better than Corner Connoisseur, so you don't normally take it, but just having the best freaking stat spread in the game for this one besides wit and having an 8 gold recovery, this character kind of plays itself, has a pretty easy career. A good thing to mention is you already normally want to put like 4 to 5 bonus races because you're hitting the stats pretty easily, and Oguri Cap helps you have a lot of flexibility in that matter because you're already racing on her own career itself. So she kind of just plays itself, a very easy character to build. Another very easier character to build that's going to be Festival Rudolph. Again, Rudolph's career is super easy. And Festival Rudolph in particular is going to have a very nice stat spread with 8% speed, 14% stamina, 8% wit, which is a perfect slash line. She's going to have an innate gold recovery, pro curve, fall runner gold. Only downside is that it's going to be released directly before registration. So there's not going to be that many borrows that you can do. There's going to be like 12 borrows before the game starts. A lot of people say Rudolph Festival is bad because her alt is bad. Her alt is okay. I will admit it's not the greatest after looking into it, but it is proccable, and honestly, it's just the ease of use for it. And this is kind of the last fall runner that we're going to have for over a year. So I would, if you pull her, I would at least try to use her because this is probably her strongest CM until the next fall. Regular Rudolph's 2 is just pretty decently. She has 20% stamina, 10% guts, so I would go and run that second build I had above with the 3 speed, of stamina and a wit card. She does have a Dominator, which you can run if you're running for late Surger. She does also have Professor of Curvature built in, as well as Pace Chaser skills, Pace Chaser corners. So a couple of little bonuses. Festival is going to be a lot better, but if you're running Triple Dominator, run regular Rudolph, as she has it. Your Agnes Digital people, normally more of a late Surger, normally more of a mile racer, but she just kind of has super stand. So 88707, very good stat spread. You're going to find that's a very good stat spread on a lot of races because it's just incredible. And she comes with super stand, which if you have all the required skills, which means that you have your acceleration skills, you have your mid-race speed skill, and you have your what am I missing? Mid-race speed skill, you have your acceleration skill, and you have your recovery skill. Well, the next thing is to have Uma stand because you have the pace break at the start of the match, so that helps you immensely. It's also, she comes with the wet and mediums, so she comes with a green skill that's very good for power, a little bit bonus power, and medium straights as well. So a couple of nice little luxuries things. I don't actually know how hard her career is, but she seems pretty easy to build just from on paper. Daiwa Scarlet, a little bit more difficult to build. She does have, the biggest thing is she does have killer tunes. That's her number one thing that she has. And it's also an 8 gold recovery. So she has 2 very good skills. So you really don't got to search for skills in your deck. And she's also, of course, a free-to-play character. 10% speed, 20% guts is not the best. It's kind of all over the place. I would run the 3 speed, 1 stamina, and just get some power sparks personally. But her alt Red Ace will not work unless there's no front runners, because if there's a front runner, you're probably not hitting second place on the corner. Steadfast is one of, like I said, that's the funny skill. That is the skill that if you're past, you just catch up to them. That is a very easy event. I believe it's just participating in the Tenno Show Spring. Head On is available. If you've ever played Daiwa Scarlet trying to get her secret event, you'll find it is one of the hardest ones to get because you have to win every race that Vodka is in, as well as win the Triple Crown, the Senior Triple Crown as well, and also I think the Autumn Triple Crown. So you have to win like 7 or 8 races and all the ones that vodka just happens to be in. So it's very, very touchy, and with a 10% speed bonus, I find it's actually very hard to win early races. So Daiwa Scarlet, a little bit harder to build, but she is a free-to-play option, and she does not require you to go searching for skills ever. I would be remiss to mention my own Top Gun being good in every CM and every position, but she does have an innate gold recovery. The original has no stopping me. The wedding has stamina debuffers, although that is more for late surgers. Not much else going for the character. She does get head on as well because of her secret event. My own Top Gun will pretty much always be good in every position on every race that she is able to get her distance aptitude up for. Otherwise, pretty much a lot of these pace chasers have innate gold recoveries. These are 6 versions, both Teos, both special weeks. You have Measure McQueen, Super Creek, both. Just original Conor Pasa. All these have innate gold recoveries, and basically, if you have innate gold recovery, you can use something like a power bonus. You don't have to use Rice Shower as your power card, or you don't have to use Super Creek. You can use other cards that don't have innate gold recoveries to get your innate gold recovery. Notably, Teo Original has Shrewd Step, which is the funny skill gold version. That's Technician. Measurer McQueen probably is the strongest of these ones because her ultimate is good. And remember, if it's an innate ultimate, it's double. So when everyone's getting one length from just proccing Measurer McQueen ult, she's getting 2 lengths. So she has a very good speed skill that procs very well. Other than that, this is just like you run your favorite Uma that has an innate gold recovery, and it's just gonna be a little easier if you're having trouble. Otherwise, there is a strategy to run triple Dominator. This is more of a late searcher thing, but you can run them 3 Pace Chaser, and at least one of them will hit, but you do need to be in the back half of the pack to run Dominator. These have a speed buff, so if you run triple Dominator, as if all of them have basically a speed skill attached. So the 3 that are available to us right now are Grass Wonder, Agnes Tachyon, Symboli Rudolph. If you have those 3, you can consider running triple Dominator. So in conclusion, your win condition for Pace Chasers are you want Shooting for Victory, stack as many Gamble Excels as you can muster, stack as many mid-range speed skills as you can muster. Do this on any Uma. As long as you get at least Shooting for Victory, a Gamba Excel, and a mid-range speed, you have a chance of winning. So just run the Uma that you want. So this has been Light. I'll try to get the late surgery guide out sometime tomorrow, but I hope you enjoyed, and good luck. Burb out.